Hello and welcome back to part 3 of A Splash of Paint. It gives me great pleasure to introduce versatile oil artist and teacher Marion Dutton, renowned for beautiful seascapes, breathtaking landscapes and spectacular florals. Let's find out a little more about Marion and see her individual style and techniques in action.
Okay, so what I wanted to demonstrate for you today is this beautiful floral. As you can see, I've more or less finished this painting, but I wanted to show you in this short time frame how easy it is to create these dramatic blooms. So let me run through the colours that we'll be using today. We have some titanium white, cadmium yellow, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue and a small touch of mauve, and that's just to add a little bit of a different flavour. We have also a small container of linseed oil, and the brushes I'll be using today is a filbert brush. This is actually a natural hair brush, but you can use a soft synthetic. And I've also got an old worn flat brush. So I'm going to begin by blocking in the flower and establishing the lights and the darks. For that, I'm going to switch to the old brush, and I'm going to go in. This is going to be a blue hydrangea. So I'm going to go into a little bit of linseed oil and into some cerulean blue and some white. Now you do want to add enough of the oil that this makes it a nice creamy mix. So this is going to be a blue flower. I'm going to begin scrubbing this colour in. This canvas is all dry now. So I'm going to scrub this colour in. Now you can see how much pressure I'm putting on the brush, so you wouldn't really want to use one of your better brushes for this. Now the light source in this painting is coming from the left, so I want to start putting a little bit of a shadow into this area. So I'm going to dip into some of the ultramarine and start to darken the lower area. Again, you can see where the paint is just sitting on the surface. That's telling you need just a little more oil. And do add the oil a drop at a time. You don't want this getting all sloppy on you. So I'm scrubbing this colour, pushing this colour right into the weave of the canvas. I'm not concerned about going over the leaves. I want the flower to actually be sat on top of the leaves, so the leaves will be pushed back. Now I'm going to just add a slight touch of the mauve, again just for a little bit of variety in colour really, just to throw some extra colour in there, give it a little bit of a different flavour. Keeping these tones nice and dark at the shadowed side of the flower. Now just wipe in between, just make sure there's no hard edges. I'm going to add some white now into this centre. Again, this is where the light source is coming from. So we're establishing the lights and darks of the bloom. Hopefully you can see it starting to form the roundness now, just by adding those lights and darks. We'll push that in front of that daisy. So now that I've got that in place, I'm going to switch now to the filbert brush, and this is absolutely perfect for forming these very tiny little petals. Now to begin with, I'm just going to add a very small amount of oil and a little bit of titanium white to this mix from earlier. Now to create these little petals, you do in 4 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you form a little cup, but you do them so quickly that sometimes you'll only see little parts of them. I'm also looking to break up this outer edge. I don't want this hard line here. So as the brush becomes dirty, I will start to go into the more shadowed areas and begin to form these darker petals. So even though it's a 4-petal stroke, there are times where I'm actually only just hitting it just once. And I'm trying to change the angle a little bit so that it's not, they're not all facing the same way. So I might do some that are actually sort of upside down. So I've only loaded the paint just that once, and you can see already we're starting to create these tiny little petals that are characteristic of the hydrangea. So do make sure that your outside edge is nice and broken, and don't be worrying about taking some of that dark up into the light and some of the light into the dark. Now in most things, the more you work them, the worse they become. But actually in the case of these little flowers, the more you work them, the nicer they become. So now I've kind of broken that up. I'm going to increase the value by adding some more of the titanium white, and again a little drop of oil. I want this to be nice and creamy and for it to just flow nice and easily off the brush. So I'm getting a little bit more precise now with my little petals. When I first load, because it's a very light value, I will stay in the lighter areas, and then as the brush starts to become dirty again, I'll start to move again towards the more shadowed side. I mean, these flowers are so pretty, and they look like you could have spent absolutely hours on them. So again, here I'm just randomly just touching. Again, I'm going to increase the value a little more now with more white, a little more oil. Being a little bit more precise with some of these petals, and please do overlap these. This is very important. Don't try, oh I like that petal, I'm going to save it. Go over them, overlap them. It is the overlapping, and just keep working on these petals, and that's what creates the illusion of this bloom. Now finally, these are going to be my brightest, so I'm going to concentrate those towards the centre. Keep wiping because you will be picking up a lot of the colour from underneath. And keep reloading. Keep those very bright ones, you want to keep the paint nice and fresh. It's a nice creamy mix. So just enough oil so that that feels nice and silky and that there's no resistance under the brush at all. And here I'll just put a couple of little random bits that have caught the light. Okay, so then to finish this off, we're going to put the little stamens in the centre. Now I just turn the brush over, go into some oil and into some cadmium yellow. And we'll just tap on a couple of these little stamens. Just throw a couple of these in, nice and random. The eye will fill in the rest of the details. Isn't that beautiful? Now that looks like you've spent hours and hours on those petals, and I shan't tell anybody if you don't.
Great work, and lovely to see such a passion for oils. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of Marion and her dynamic approach in the very near future. Now it's time for us to go out and about with leading acrylic artist Fraser Scarf and discover some of the more fascinating insights into the inspiration behind some of his favourite works of art.
Hi, I'm Fraser Scarf and we're here in London today at Tate Britain, which houses some of the greatest works of British art from the past 1,000 years. Now I'm going to have a look at some paintings and certainly go over some that have inspired me over my artistic career and tell you a bit about why I like them so much. We're here in the Claw Gallery at Tate Britain. Now this houses the majority of Turner's bequests to the nation. So this is for me being like in a sweet shop, you know, I really go crazy when I come in here. And what I want to talk about today is this painting here, which is Snowstorm, Hannibal and his army crossing the Alps. Now, this is sort of quintessential Turner. You've got the storming, raging weather, the tiny figures in the distance, and this is a real sort of tour de force by Turner going, I can do history painting, look at the sort of impact I can create on the canvas here. Now, what this painting shows is Hannibal and his army attempting to cross the Alps, which is something that Turner was aware of and he wanted to reference in this painting. And he's also making a political statement in this painting as well, because of course in Turner's lifetime, Napoleon Bonaparte is attempting to invade most of Europe and the Napoleonic Wars are raging. And Turner is wanting to sort of compare Hannibal to Napoleon in this painting. So what this painting shows is Turner at his best, really. We've got the kind of atmospherics, we've got the raging storm, the paint is applied thickly, freely, in order to sort of create this sort of swirling vortex as the clouds whirl around these defenseless figures below them. And Turner is making the great leader Hannibal a tiny diminutive figure on the horizon line atop an elephant, almost saying, no matter how powerful you are, the weather, the elements can always destroy you. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this look at one of the masterpieces of British art as much as I have. Join me next time for more Out and About, when we'll be looking at another great piece of British art and I'll be telling you why it's so important to me.
We'll be seeing more of Fraser in the weeks to come as he takes the role of curator, historian and educator as part of his regular Out and About feature. Now it's time for a quick break, but join us in part 4 when versatile acrylic artist Terry Chipp adds the final finishing touches to his captivating beach scene. I'll see you after the break.